Hi, Kevin here. I'm getting ready to make some Salisbury steaks. Let me show you the ingredients. Okay, so what I have here is 3 pounds of lean ground beef. And I'm going to be making 8 Salisbury steaks. So to the beef, I'm going to add 3 large eggs that I did beat lightly. And 1.5 cups of seasoned dry breadcrumbs. Now I'm using these 4C gluten-free breadcrumbs because I've used them for Salisbury steaks in the past and they work out really, really well. So that's 1.5 cups. Then roll up your sleeves. Just mix everything together thoroughly. And I'm wearing my food prep gloves because, well, this is kind of a messy job. Kind of a gross job, actually. Yeah. Now, Salisbury steak is named after James Salisbury. He was an American physician and chemist. He was born in 1905. And he advocated a diet that was rich in lean meat protein, which is exactly what we're using here. I'm not so sure Mr. Salisbury, or I should say Dr. Salisbury, would be terribly popular today. Anyway, we do love Salisbury steaks. Okay, so we are pretty well mixed here. So now I'm going to form the beef into 8 patties. First pat this out a bit. So I'm going to cut this in half and then cut it crosswise in half to make 4 fairly uniform size pieces. And then cut each of the quarters in half. Okay, and then to form the Salisbury steak, you form it into an oval shape, like this. Okay, and I'm going to finish forming my steaks. I'm going to put them on this sheet over here, and then we'll come back and cook them off. All right, I have my all-clad skillet here over medium heat, and I've added about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And what we're going to do is brown the steaks first. We're going to get them good and brown. And then I will be removing the steaks and adding onions and mushrooms, and then we're going to make a gravy. Now, you don't want to be moving the steaks around, especially if you're using a skillet like mine. Once the steaks get good and brown on the underside, they will release from the pan, and then you can flip them to brown the other side. Okay? And I wanted to tell you that with this meal, I'm going to be serving mashed potatoes and probably, well, I'm going to serve either green beans or those little le sueur peas. So it's going to be a very good dinner. All right, we'll come back when these get good and brown. All right, the steaks are good and brown, and they developed a really nice crust. And sorry about the bounce there. I've drained off what little grease there was in the skillet. And now I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of butter. And mountain of sliced onion. This is 3 large onions that I cut into half moons. In they go. It looks like a lot of onions, but again, I'm making 8 servings. We're going to eat 2 servings tonight, and then I'm going to freeze 6 of the steak dinners. Yeah, Salisbury steak freezes really well. Now, as the onions release their juices, let me zoom you in a little bit. Yeah, as the onions release their juices, they will essentially deglaze the pan. So all those stuck-on bits of meat at the bottom of the pan are caramelized bits, and they are loaded with flavor. So you don't want to get rid of them. Okay, now I'm going to let these cook just until they soften up and develop some color. And that's going to take about 8 minutes, so we will come back. All right, the onions have been cooking for about 8 minutes, and as you can see, they've developed a bit of color, and the bottom of my skillet is quite clean now. And of course I did toss the onions about from time to time while they were cooking. And I did this over low heat. So now I'm going to add mushrooms. So I have 8 ounces of mushrooms here. These are sliced button mushrooms, just the regular mushrooms you would find in any supermarket. There's nothing fancy about them. And I think I want even more mushrooms. So I bought 2 packages, just in case. So I'm going to add, another handful of mushrooms. So this is probably 12 ounces total. Just stir these in. And then I'm going to cover the skillet again and let the mushrooms cook just until they've softened. Then we will make the gravy. Okay, the mushrooms are almost finished cooking, so I wanted to make the gravy. What I have here is 3 cups of water. Now, you could use 3 cups of mushroom broth or beef stock if you prefer. I prefer water in this instance. And then, as a thickener, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. So this will actually be a gluten-free version of Salisbury steaks. I'm going to whisk this together. And then I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce, which I've already measured out here. Just add that right to the cornstarch solution. Okay, let's have a look at the mushrooms. Okay, everything looks good and the mushrooms have softened. You can't even see. Let me fix this. Okay. So now I'm going to crank up the heat and add the cornstarch solution. You want to bring this to a boil, and of course the cornstarch is going to thicken this liquid very quickly. It's one of the reasons I love cornstarch. Yes, it's already starting to thicken. Can you see that? Okay, so now I'm going to return the steaks. because I only browned them. I did not cook them all the way through. They finished cooking in the gravy. By the way, this was 90% lean ground beef. So there was almost no fat in the pan. Okay, and then once this reaches a full boil, I'm going to reduce the heat to a simmer, and then I'll let the steaks cook until they're completely done, and that's going to take from 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll come back when they're done. All right, I think the steaks are done. Yep, you really only want to cook them to 160 degrees. Okay, I'm going to plate this up and then I'll show you what it looks like on the plates. All right, here's our dinner, and here's Avery, who thinks I've made this dinner just for her. All right, here's the Salisbury steak dinner. So we have the Salisbury steak and the mushrooms and the onions, and I did fix the Worcestershire peas because I love them. I made some mashed potatoes and I put some of the gravy from the Salisbury steak in the potatoes. Here's the orange Jello dessert that I made earlier for you, and I filmed the recipe, so if you're interested in it, please watch it. That was Mr. Fox's serving. Here is mine, same setup. Here's the wonderful dessert. And now for a taste. Oh, and here are the leftover steaks. As you can see, I have been digging into this. But I have plenty left over to freeze. All right, a taste. I have a dog at my feet. Exquisite. So everything is just right. I used the right amount of breadcrumbs. They were seasoned perfectly. I did not have to add any additional salt or add any pepper or garlic powder or anything like that. And the texture of the steaks, I don't even know if I can describe it. The steaks are really tender on the inside, but they have that wonderful thick crust because we browned them thoroughly in the skillet. And of course the gravy is awesome too, because it's flavored with Worcestershire sauce. So I hope you will give this Salisbury steak dinner a try someday. It's not difficult to do, and again, it freezes perfectly. Thanks so much for watching. I really wish you were here to enjoy the meal with me. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.